Richard Saul Wurman, or Ricky Wurman, as those who know him say, has written 81 books, and he, of course, as was mentioned, invented the TED conferences 26 years ago. So to have him here, talking to him here, is a little like getting God on stage late in the New Testament or something, I think. To ask him, really, so that Genesis thing. But instead of talking about Genesis, which we can all read about, your serious description of yourself on your own website is that your mission is making information understandable, which seems so much drier than you are, or than what motivates you. It seems to me, yeah, sure, but that you are motivated by a kind of boyish glee to have fun and be excited and make people excited and do cool things.
I don't have a publicist.
Yes, you do.
Me. I don't work for anybody. Nobody's ever asked me to do my 80-some books. I don't have an agent. I don't have any of those accoutrements. Everything I do is because I get up in the morning and feel like doing it. My life, I bet myself completely every day, and my life is at total risk. And I've made money doing that, which is really peculiar because I'm obviously abrasive and loved at the same time.
Sure.
So I am a person of contrast. But the important thing is that what I do is for myself, because I don't know what anybody is thinking out there. I don't know what's in anybody else's mind at any moment. I don't know what is in your mind. You think, I wish he would stop talking, or I really love him, or this is fine. I don't know what you're thinking. I can approximate some things from expressions sometimes. So the only thing I have a grasp of is my stupidity, my inability to understand things. And that's why I am more powerful than anybody else in the room, including you, and I'm not nearly as smart as you. I mean, this is a very smart, articulate person, spoke for me several times at TED. I can't do any of the things. I have no skill set, none at all, except my embrace of my own stupidity. And that makes me more powerful than anybody else in the room, because by embracing your stupidity, by understanding that you don't understand, by not coming up and talking about your expertise. See, when you sell a book normally, not when you sell a book because you're doing novels. Well,
when one sells a book.
When one sells one book. But if you have, we're all out there selling. He got his job as president of Pratt because he was selling his expertise. He had run something else, he was selling his expertise. When you sell your expertise, you have a limited repertoire. I sell my ignorance. I have an unlimited repertoire. So there is nothing the risk, the palpable terror that I have at all times is what drives me into the next project. And I'm 75 years old, no applause. I'm celebrating the whole year of being 75 instead of my birthday, because the birthday became ominous, and I decided I couldn't just celebrate my birthday. The only way I celebrated was by accident. I went as far away. I went down to an island in the Caribbean, and the phone rang in my room, and Yo-Yo Ma called me, sang me, and played Happy Birthday on the phone to me. And that was my only singing of Happy Birthday. That's the only way I celebrated it. But I've then had about 10 birthday parties since, because every place I went, but I got tired of it. I don't want to sing Happy Birthday now. But I thought I would celebrate everywhere because I thought I was insatiable about getting all my ego's needs met. And
really?
It turns out, yeah.
You?
Me.
Yeah.
Moi. And it turns out that's not, I'm tired of it.
Information and making information clear, finding out correct information, correct bookkeeping, all that is not only your passion, but as we'll talk about, sort of the fundament of everything you're doing. And as you say, it's not left, it's not right. You've never struck me as a particularly, not an apathetic person, but not a politically engaged or enraged or ideological person. Yet, all the information you're talking about, certainly now about cities and health and the rest, are really only useful or important to the degree they create a political will to change the way things are done. Are you by temperament not a political person, or is that the way you maintain yourself as an honest broker of information?
The perception is that I'm a do-gooder because the things I do good. But I don't really give a fuck about other people. I really do these things to assuage my deep curiosity about patterns that I don't understand. I do understand that by doing TED or TEDMED, the new conference I'm doing, or EG, or whatever, or the Aspen conference, or the First Federal Design Assembly, or the AI conference, or whatever I've done, has an effect on other people. I'm not stupid. But I don't try to have an effect on other people, except if I really do good work. If I really make things clear, there's an obviously effect on other people. But if I try to do it to make your life better, I'll fail because I'll be thinking about you and not about the quality of what I'm doing. Only, precisely, directly, and embraced with just what I'm doing. I am very disciplined. I seem like a loose cannon. I'm not. I mean, I just took off 90 pounds with no diet, except I shit more than I eat. So, I am very disciplined, and I don't want anything to interfere with the discipline of trying to make something clear. And bringing other people into that circle, I'm trying to please somebody, wanting to know whether they will understand it. I am so dumb that if I understand it, I know other people will understand it also.
So
I am apolitical.
You practice what I call, you practice a kind of good selfishness, a kind of, I am only going to do what's interesting, I'm only going to say what I think is great and interesting, and if some fraction of the world loves that and responds to that, then I'll make a living.
It's very confusing because I know they do understand it. I mean, the TEDMED conference is an enormous success. I know there's companies formed. Google was introduced at my conference. I know things happen. You know all this shit.
Yes.
Things happen and people meet each other and start, and obviously constructive and positive things come out of it, but it's not my direct intention. My direct intention is just to do the best possible conference I can. It's the difference, I think, is that the difference between changing the world and doing the best conference in the world. I'm not trying to change the world. I'm trying to do the best conference in the world, or the best book I can at that moment, or the best project, or think up the clearest idea. And then I feel that if something happens, it's fine, but I'm not after that.
Right.
I'm not after selling books or filling the room.
Those are happy collateral
benefits. It just happens if you do good work. Mine says just do good work.
What are the virtues of face-to-face human in-a-room meetings like this, as opposed to everything that one can do, including watch taped TED
good. That's a good question, and a critical question in our. You're welcome. In our society, most everything in our society is on a continuum. You can have a squatter's house, as you've seen, semi-squatter's house that you've seen in Nairobi. And you can incrementally get up to a bigger and bigger and better and fancier house and mansion. It's incremental. Most things are incremental. There's a couple things, two things.
Binary?
There's a gap. So even the best we can do in communicating remotely is telepresence, the thing that Cisco has and HP has. HP doesn't publicize theirs. That's the best that you can do, but there's a gap between that and you and I talking. Huge gap between actually talking to another human being. This is so different than iChat.
Yes.
This is so different than...
Because we can see each other, the nuances, exactly. The other thing is like making love through a blanket or something. Yeah.
It's something like that, and it's also, which I'll have to think about, depends, I'm thinking of the kind of blanket I would have.
Yeah.
But it's also, I've tried to suggest to Steve that he should do a computer that can nod.
I bet this is Steve Jobs you're talking about. Yeah.
That he should do a computer that can nod. Because nodding is so important with this communication. See, he can't even help it. You can't help it. He would like to help it because he wants to fuck me over. But he can't help me. He can't help it. You just not, and that's a big deal.
Watch it, I can help it. No, indeed, it's absolutely true. In addition to the people who have an idea to create a search engine get together and can spend all of that intimate time figuring out what that ought to be. Mm-hmm. There is, thanks to Google, thanks to all the people who you helped introduce to the world at TED conferences, a surfeit of information, more access to more information than ever before. Is it more or less coherent and understandable than it was 15 years ago?
Well, 20 years ago, I wrote a book called Information Anxiety, and on the cover of the book, I gave the definition. You could just read the cover and not buy the book, actually. The cover just stated that we think everything, I mean, your program, the newspaper, we think everything we see is information. And we feel guilty that we don't understand some of the things that are there. We take it upon ourselves because, after all, it's words and we should understand them. If we don't understand them, it's not our fault. They weren't presented in a way that was understandable. So there's not an information overload, or we're not overloaded with information that we can understand. I don't think there's, if information is presented in an understandable form that I can understand it and it interests me, I don't know the end of what I can take in.
Yes.
There's no end to
Yes.
what, at this moment, my brain can take in anything that's understandable that interests me.
But to the degree that
And I remember it.
To the degree information isn't presented as...
Well, then it's not data, it's shit.
Well, but why is that? Is it because
nobody cares.
Or because designers don't plunge themselves into the real math of
basically,
it because they're not math
I was
guys?
kicked out of AIGA, I quit. I was kicked out of AGI and everything because they're not my people. I'm interested. I created the term information architect. You've probably heard that term, and I created that term. And it was a term to deal with the fact of my prediction 30 years ago that that's what was going to happen, that half the work of designers, maybe more, I was only saying half because I wasn't trying to step on anybody's toes, was going to, including architecture and including industrial design, was going to be in explaining and making understandable what they were doing. That this idea of truly explaining was vastly important. And of course it's true, more and more work is about explanation, and the products that seem to be hugged are ones that are self-revelatory.
And PowerPoint as the great modern mode and node of information presentation, information architecture, good thing, bad thing?
Well, I'm not against AV, and I'm not against that as across the board. I give a number. This year I said I would give speeches. I usually say no. So next year, after March 26th, it's no.
March 25th being your birthday.
March 26th being
March
25th.
Yeah, I celebrated on the 25th.
Yeah. Some do.
Yeah.
So I decided to give speeches, and when I talk, I obviously don't have notes, and I just gave a 2.5-hour talk because I had said enough. In fact, my goal in the next year and a half, I'm creating a new conference. We're going to talk about this at our second thing, I guess, but because we're going to talk again next period.
Because we're out of time now.
That's when he's coming up here.
Yeah.
I'm creating a new conference called www.www, and that's, I have the website. And that's going to be in August, a month that nobody has a conference, see?
But there are 2 political conventions in the Summer Olympics. I'm just saying.
Anyway, in that, and I'm trying to completely break down the notion of time, which I started at TEDMED this year. The best speech at TEDMED this year, the best speech was Jay Walker, person who created Priceline, gave 10 3-minute speeches. They were remarkable. Were they remarkable? Absolutely. I mean, were they one of the best things you've ever seen at any conference? I mean, it was astonishing, astonishing. And 3 people gave 30-minute speeches. I'm trying to break down this silly notion.
Destroy what you have created.
Absolutely.
We'll see you in 2 hours.